Up next, we got Mr. Lionel Anderson. Great job, buddy, this last month. Man, another record month for you with $22,450 APV written, man. You know, you've really started to gain some traction here over the last couple of months. For a while, you were kind of, you know, in limbo there. You were writing, but so it was a little bit trying to find the right balance with just experience and leads and the right combination for you, man. But you've really kind of you know, hit a sweet spot, you know, and don't show any signs of letting up, brother. So can you talk to us a little bit about kind of your experience and a little bit about your story that folks can benefit from?
Yes, for sure. Can you guys all hear me?
Absolutely.
All right, great. Yes, it's only a pleasure and an honor to be asked to present my story, because maybe a lot of people don't know who I am, and maybe they haven't made the reconnection with my accent, but I'm originally from South Africa.
We thought you were from Mississippi, man.
I actually had one time somebody asked me, "Hey, are you from Alabama?" I said, "No, you got to go a lot more south."
Well, you said SA, and that's South Africa. They thought you meant South Alabama, SA.
Possibly. So, yeah, and it's a pleasure for me to be, you know, direct to you, and it's something that I inherited, because I was actually introduced to Symmetry by somebody that's no longer with the company, but we'll get into that shortly. But, you know, I just want to touch on my journey that got me to Symmetry. And I'm not going to take up too much time, because I want to get into the important stuff that we can all learn from. And yeah, maybe I should write a book. It may be a bestseller, who the hell knows? So, you know, when I was 15 years old, I had a mentor and a sport idol back in South Africa, and he represented South Africa at field hockey. That's what we call a Springbok hockey player. And, you know, he told me about this one book, and the book is by Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, Power of Positive Thinking. When I read that book at 15 years old, it molded my character and my personality. I am an eternal optimist, and I see the cup always as half full, never half empty. So, you know, through my whole journey to be successful, I believed in myself, and I set those goals towards achieving them. You know, my history back in South Africa, I was on the PGA Golf Tour for a couple of years, and we all know that in any professional sport, specifically, it's all between the years. You know, you've got to have your goals, you've got to be dedicated, and you've got to work really hard. So, getting to my career in the US 23 years ago, it's like a roller coaster. I've had so many ups and downs, and not by my choice, not one of them by my choice. Started out as a sports coach, a realtor. I sold securities. I was in merchant services, and I was with a POS dealer, and now I'm with Symmetry. So, you know, I was laid off by my prior employer. I was with them for like 8 years, the POS dealer, and they actually stole me from my current employer at that time, because they wanted me to come over, and I was doing a great job for them, and I was managing director of all the major accounts. And I thought, yeah, this is great. I'm now going to I'll go on pension with these guys. But, you know, when the financial constraints came in just prior to COVID, they were cutting back, and, you know, they cut back the people that cost them the most of money. And so I was laid off prior to joining Symmetry, and I was laid off for 4 months, unemployed, getting unemployment, and sending out 5, 6, 7 resumes a week, and nothing was coming back. I even got my brother-in-law, who is the past president of the state Senate for Florida. He actually went through my resume and said, "Your resume is awesome. You know, you can fly with it." It didn't work. The only opportunities that were coming up were commission-based with no basic salary. And I was shying away from that. I don't want to just rely on commission to make a living. I've got bills to pay, and I've got a mortgage to pay. And I then came across a ZipRecruiter advert. And in fact, it was the second one that I'd actually responded to. The first one, and I didn't know that at the time, was somebody that is with Symmetry, the two brothers. And I just didn't feel the vibe. I didn't like what I was hearing. Well, when I got this, the one that actually got me on board, no names, no tactful, he did a great job on the interview. I actually had my wife listening in onto the interview, and she said at the end of the interview, it sounds great, let's do it. But right through the whole interview, there was no mention of the capital that I was going to need to buy leads. Nothing. I knew it was commission only, so that was my biggest obstacle I had to overcome. I had to basically convince my significant other, it's going to work. I'm totally committed. And JP, when you and I first spoke, I said to you more than once again, I'm committed. I'm going to make this work. I don't care what it takes. It's got to work. I have no other options. And, I got stuck in right away. I had no real major ego to bring across because I'm now in the industry, in the field. I knew nothing about insurance. Only thing I knew was that I had a policy in place to protect my wife, and that's basically it. So, I tapped in. I went into the SFG University. I attended every single meeting. I think on one hand, I can count the meetings that I've missed. And if I've missed them, the next week I've gone back into the recordings to try and pick them up. So this was critical for me, and it was great because I learned a hell of a lot. I mean, being in sales and working with insurance clients, prospects, is a completely different thing. So I was like a SpongeBob. I had to learn as much as possible, no room for egos. And you know what? I got to tell you, dialing is no problem for me. I love dialing. I'm actually a people's type person. And, when I get a call that somebody, I've had a couple of calls that have been really bad. I got to tell you, I'm a ninja dialer, and I record every single one of my initial contacts with the leads. And I've had 2 or 3 that have, and you've had as well, JP, where they called you the worst, used F-bombs and, whatever. I just put the phone down and I just chuckle and I just keep dialing away. So, I see it this way. More times at bat will lead to more home runs, and I've evolved. I was, prior to using Ninja Dialer, I was also, and I think JP, you're also in that situation where, you're printing out everything, you're writing down everything, and I'm totally digitally automated right now with Ninja Dialer. I love it. I have total control over every one of my leads. It's all connected through Google Calendar, and Google Calendar also filters through to my Outlook account. So whatever's posted in Google, it comes straight through to my Outlook account. And I'm very productive with Ninja Dialer. I dial all through the day. I see this as, like JP, you've said many times in the past, you travel in the car for an hour to get to work, an hour to get back from work, to get home, and you spend all this time there. Why wouldn't you spend that time in this position? And I see this as my job. I'm on an 8-hour job, and even more than 8 hours. Last night, the night before, I was here sitting until 11:30, getting everything into opt and to make sure everything's copacetic. So, COVID has actually opened the doors to greater things for me. Trust me. I love the fact that we now are able to do virtual. 99.9% of my appointments are virtual with Zoom. I had one this morning where the lady tried to get on, and she was starting to cuss me, and she said, "I can't get this to freaking work." I said, "Okay, hold on, stop. Let's just switch off Zoom. I'm going to call you now on the cell, and we'll do it on the phone." So in Florida, some of our older clients, they have a problem, but 99.8% are all on Zoom. Now, I'm very comfortable with Zoom. I've had prior practice, prior to coming to Symmetry, my previous managing director's position, we use Zoom all the time. So I was very, very comfortable with it. And if you're not comfortable with it, practice. I used to practice with myself. I used to have my laptop next to my desktop, and I'd do a presentation from my desktop to my laptop, and then I play it back, and I do that over and over again and try and sort of nail it down. I don't see myself, if absolutely needed, I will go to a door-to-door. I actually did a couple of door knocks 2 weeks ago. But if I can do it via Zoom, my production is way out there. One of my secrets, not a secret, one of my successes is that I build great rapport right in the beginning. And JP, you've knocked on this. You and I have had chats about developing emotions and discussing that and I get that sometimes before I even nail the appointment down, I'm already telling them a story. I love telling stories. And one of my very personal stories is about my real experience with my wife's stepdad, where we bought a home as an investment home just before the real estate bubble burst. He took ill, he developed lung cancer, he passed away in our home. And I used that story because we couldn't sell the freaking home. And eventually we lost the home to foreclosure. Now, had he had 10 or 15,000 in place, just to give us another 4 months, we would have been able to maybe sell the home and get the equity out of the home. So I use that story every single one of my calls. And, you know, there's a couple other stories that I've had experiences, like you just mentioned earlier about the kid in the pool. Just 2 weeks ago, I had across the road, close friends of my neighbors, their family, they lost a twin of 13 years old. He was killed as a pedestrian. And I know the kids, and I use that all the time because, you know what, we've got to take care of the kids with regards to insurance. So how have I progressed through this whole learning curve? Well, in the beginning, it was, you know, the 50-cent leads, because that's all I could afford. And eventually, as the deals started coming through, I realized, you know what, I got to transgress into the A-leads. I've got to pay the $38 for the A-leads, and I've got to see how it works. And my spreadsheet has just showed me exactly how much I've spent on leads, and I've upped it. And I'm spending much more on A-leads, and it's working. My appointment settings are higher, my closing deals are better. And just the other day, I sent JP my GMR, and I adjusted my GMR so that we could accommodate more A-leads and get a bigger spread. I'm also, I'm with 3 different states right now. I'm in Ohio, Florida, and Louisiana. And that's all on advice by JP, which he's helped me tremendously on. And if there's no A-leads available in Florida, I quickly jump over to those 2, and I'll see what I can grab from there. And I'm 100% symmetry. My 12 hours a day is devoted to symmetry. And if I get a lead, I call straight away. Only times when my calls taper off is when I have 4 or 5 appointments in a day. And I just can't get all those calls in. That's a good thing. So I'm now seeing that my ROI has improved. And now I'm able to put a little bit back into buying more leads, because up until now, I've been relying on my 401k and credit cards to stay afloat. And, you know, I can see now that the progress is there, and hopefully I'll be able to start paying the credit cards back and not tap so much into my 401k. I just want to also just quickly mention something that in the beginning, I used to fall back on term life answers because I wanted to give the clients the best that I could give them. And in one of our most recent meetings, someone up there, you know, one of the leaders in Symmetry mentioned that they used to do that. And I thought, well, you know what, I'm going to give my customer the best I could. So I was quoting term life answers more times than I should have. Now I have found that if I'm going to lose a lead, if I'm going to lose a deal because they want extended coverage, especially in the 50-year, 60-year and older bracket, I use Mitchell of Omaha, GULE. The only negative to me is they pay me 40% commission on a GULE, but it gives me the opportunity, if I'm going to lose it because they want coverage for beyond 80 years old, beyond the 20-year or the 30-year term, I go to the GLE, I say, okay, hold on a second. I've got another rabbit up my sleeve. Yeah, we can go until you're 90, 95, 100, 120 years old. Let's see, you know, what is affordable. I present that, and that has saved quite a few of my deals. And I just want to share that because I do believe that, you know, the more rabbits you have up your sleeve, the better. And yeah, I'm on this journey, and I'm committed to this journey. Quit has never been in my vocabulary. I don't know what quit means. And it's a case of, I've got to make this work, and it's starting to work. And, you know, not in too distant future, I hope we're going to have, you know, my team being built up. And that's what we're going to work on. So that's pretty much it, JP.
Absolutely. No, great stuff there, Lionel.